chapter 9 today, and we are in the trumpet judgments. We have already had the first 4 trumpets in chapter 8, and the trumpets, they are directed. The first 4 trumpets are directed against the earth because it is man's habitation. That's where man lives. And man has come to believe that he doesn't need God and that he can live independently of God. So God pours out judgment upon the earth and destroys the third part of various parts of the earth that are necessary for man's survival, and this is to teach man that he can't survive without God. The first trumpet was against the vegetation on earth, and a third of the trees were destroyed. All the green grass was destroyed. That's in verse 7 of chapter 8. Says there was hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were thrown to the earth, and a third of the earth was burnt up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Well, if you take out that much vegetation, man is really going to suffer from that, because only God can make a tree, as we know. So what is man going to do if God takes away the vegetation on the world? Next, the second trumpet was directed against the sea, the salt water, and there was a great mountain, verse 8, the great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Okay, so this impacted the ocean. This probably is the Mediterranean Sea, but it could also refer to all the seas of the world, the 7 seas of the world, and takes out the water itself. 1/3 of it becomes blood. All the living creatures, 1/3 of them die. That would impact the food. And then there's the ships. 1/3 of all the ships were destroyed. That would certainly impact the economy. So then the next trumpet is against the fresh water, the drinking water. There was third angel sounded, verse 10, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers. Okay, so here we have another description of a meteor, and I believe all these should be taken literally, because God's judgments upon the world are literal judgments, and God is certainly able to manipulate the heavenly bodies to accomplish His will, as He did quite a few times in history. So this meteor then, as it falls upon the earth, it breaks up and lands in the fresh water, on the rivers and the springs. The name of the star is called Wormwood, which is kind of like a generic name, which pollutes water, makes it undrinkable. Sometimes it imparts a bad taste to it. Sometimes it has chemicals in it which would cause sickness and death. So, that many men died from the waters because they were made bitter. But 1/3 of the waters is taken out. Notice all these trumpets have to do with a third And that might seem pretty severe until we get to the next series of bowls, in which it's 100%. So, in a sense, God is being merciful and only taking a third in the trumpet. Okay, and then verse 12, we have the fourth angel sounding, and a third of the sun, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were smitten. So a third of them might be darkened, and the day might not shine for a third of it, and the night in the same way. Okay, so once again, God is showing signs in the heavens. The sun is dimmed by 1/3. The moon reflecting the sun, the light of the sun, it also is dimmed, and the stars. So God is able to coordinate it all, so the stars, even though they are far distant and it takes many years for the light from the stars to arrive on the earth, God could have coordinated it in such a way in which the stars were dimmed so that when the light arrived at the earth it would be dimmed, or could have used some method of blocking out the light as it came onto the earth. God has many ways in which it could have been done. But at any rate, this is a sign in the heavens to show that God is in control, and if you take away a third of the light, all the plant life depends upon light. The leaves convert the light energy through chlorophyll that's in the leaves and converts that into energy so it can grow, and if the plants don't get enough light, well, then they die. So this would impact many things, because so much depends upon the light which we get from the sun. As far as life on the earth is dependent upon that. Okay, then we come at the end of chapter 8, then verse 13 of chapter 8, and I looked and I heard an eagle flying in mid-heaven, saying with a loud voice, "Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth, because of the remaining blast of the trumpet of the three angels who are about to sound." Okay, so of the seven trumpets, then the last three are the woes, the three woes. That would be the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpets are called woes. And woe is a word that means something is dire, devastating, something to be feared. And when speaking of the judgments of God, it says, "Woe unto you, Pharisees, hypocrites," and so forth. In Matthew chapter 23, when Jesus was condemning the Pharisees for their hypocrisy, he used the word woe, showing that the God's judgments were going to be on them. Okay, so these are words used in connection with the judgments of God. Okay, so let's begin reading then in chapter 9, verse 1. It says, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star from heaven, which had fallen to the earth, and the key of the bottomless pit was given to him. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke went up out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. And out of the smoke came forth locusts upon the earth. And power was given them, as as the scorpions of the earth have power. And they were told that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only the men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not permitted to kill anyone, but to torment for 5 months. And their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it stings a man. And in those days men will seek death and will not find it, and they will long to die, and death flees from them. And the appearance of the locusts were like horses prepared for battle, and on their heads, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men, and they had hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, of many horses rushing to battle. And they have tails like the scorpions, and stings, and in their tails is their power to hurt men for 5 months. They have a king over them, the angel of the abyss. The name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he has the name Apollyon. But the first woe is past. Behold, 2 woes are still coming after these things. Okay, so chapter 9 then is the 5th trumpet, which is the first woe. And the description given here is something that has never been seen on earth before. So there's quite a difference of opinion as to what it could be. And in the final analysis, we probably will not know until it actually happens. People on the earth at that time then will see it, and only then will they be able to know for sure what it is. But it could be a number of things. First of all, there is the star which falls to the earth from heaven. Okay? In this particular case, it says the key of the bottomless pit was given to him. So this indicates that the star is not a literal star, but it's symbolic of an angel. Now, the word fallen doesn't mean like cast out or thrown out of heaven. It just means to come rapidly from heaven to the earth. And so probably the best interpretation would be that this is one of God's holy angels, which has been given the responsibility of the key to the abyss, the bottomless pit, and the abyss is the same thing. It refers to the key of the bottomless pit, and then later in the chapter we talk about the abyss. These are the same thing. So the key was entrusted to this angel. Now some people think this angel is Satan, and when it says he fell, that talks about Satan being cast out of heaven, because we'll read later that there was war in heaven where Satan and his angels fought against Michael and his angels, and that Satan was not able to prevail against Michael, and Michael and the holy angels defeated Satan and the fallen angels, and they were cast out of heaven. Well, this is not talking about that. So although some people think that this is Satan, this angel that has the key to the bottomless pit, it's very unlikely that God would entrust Satan with the key to the bottomless pit, because this is a very important key. Of course, it's God's key. He has all the keys. So That's why I think the best is that this is one of God's mighty holy angels, which God gives the assignment to open this bottomless pit. Okay, so this star then is the angel, the mighty angel. And at the end of verse 1 it says him, which is a personal pronoun, which indicates that it's not a literal star. And in verse 2 it says, and he opened the bottomless pit. So this shows it's a person who, the star is a person, it's not a literal star. And so once again, the personal pronoun shows that it is a person, and the person is an angel. So the angel, he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke went out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. Okay, so some sort of pollution is coming out of this. Now the pit is usually taken as the prison of fallen angels. When Jesus cast out the demons while he was on earth, they begged him not to send them to the bottomless pit. And they asked to be sent into the herd of swine. And so Christ allowed them to go into the herd of swine. But when they did that, the herd of swine ran down into the ocean, to the Sea of Galilee, and were drowned, as if the swine had rather be dead than be possessed by the demons. So the demons, when the swine died, from there they went to the bottomless pit anyway. So anyway, this is some demons are free to move about and possess people and to carry out Satan's orders on the earth, and others are confined in this bottomless pit. Okay, so this seems to be what the smoke represents. Seems to be when the angel unlocks and opens the bottomless pit, that the demons are released. It's smoke like a great furnace, and then it says that the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. Okay, and then out of the smoke came forth locusts upon the earth. Okay, so these, whatever they are called locusts, but they're not like any locust that's ever been seen on earth before. These locusts are specially prepared, and we could think of them as, even though they are fallen angels, they're being used by God for His purposes. And so, even though it's Satan's purpose to destroy, because that's what the word Abaddon and Apollyon means. The name of the Hebrew is Abaddon, down in verse 11. It says the name, the king over these locusts, the angel of the abyss, his name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he has the name Apollyon. So these two words both mean destroyer, in Hebrew and in Greek. Now, whether this is actually Satan or just one of Satan's chief demons, probably is one of his chief demons, who's the leader that Satan has appointed over the other demons. It's probably not Satan himself. Okay, so anyway, these locusts come upon the earth, and power was given to them as the scorpions of the earth have power. Okay, and we're talking about the power to inflict pain upon humans by their sting. Okay, from the description, it probably is some sort of stinging insect, which is this pain, this plague, because it's called a locust. And there are a number of possibilities we could think of in warfare. We say ABC warfare. The A is the atomic, the B is biological, and the C is chemical warfare. Okay, biological warfare involves all kind of germs and bacteria, which nations have developed. Remember, we had this scare. What was it? It was coming in envelopes and through the mail right after 9/11. Yeah, but anyway, you know, you can send all kind of infectious substances through the mail, and when a person opens the mail, then he gets infected by whatever it is. Okay, so both the United States and Russia and many other countries have developed this biological warfare to a very high degree. Now, if you ever look, I've seen pictures of these very small, they're like bacteria and mites. You talk about dust mites and things like that are everywhere. I should have brought in some pictures I have at home, but they look like horrible creatures that come out of science fiction and stuff. Now, these are usually so small you can't see them just with your naked eye, but with a magnifying glass you'd be able to see them, and with a microscope you'd really be able to see them. They look like huge monsters. Well, that's about the only thing that I know of that would be anywhere near the description that is given here. But just because these things can't be seen with the naked eye doesn't mean that this couldn't be talking about those kind of things. So that's one possibility. But anyway, they have the power to sting, and the sting is very painful, and the sting is not deadly, but it torments for 5 months. And that's usually the lifespan of a locust. Plagues of locusts arise from time to time. They live out in the deserts, especially down there in that part of the country. They live out in the desert, and they usually just are not bothering anybody, but then all of a sudden they start multiplying. And when they get to a certain place, then they kind of transform, and that's when they take off, and then they just go and fly in large formation, you might say, and wherever they go, they land, and then they eat up all the vegetation, and they take off again, and they go. And these plagues of locusts, they just leave the landscape bare. These locusts here are not going to be like that. In other words, they're not going to be eating any of the vegetation. They're only going to be attacking unbelievers, those who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Verse 4. So they are told that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only the men who do not have the seal of God in their forehead. Okay, so this is kind of the interpretation that I favor, that it's some sort of biological warfare where some sort of insect or germ or bacteria or something like that is developed, and it can be used to target humans, causes infection and stuff. Now we have plagues in history. We've had, like Europe had the plague called the Black Death, which was spread by fleas, and the fleas were carried by rats. And you'd shake hands with somebody, and the flea would jump from them onto you, and then the flea would bite you, and then you'd be dead in a few days. So that was the Black Death. I forget how many millions died there, and then we've had the flu comes every year. Most of the time the flu is kind of mild, but every once in a while we get a strain of the flu that kills millions of people. I think it was back in 1917 or somewhere back there. There was this one strain that killed millions of people, and every year the ones who develop the vaccine, they try to guess what the next year's flu strain is going to be like so that they can vaccinate us against that. Usually they get it pretty good. Every once in a while they miss. But they try and come up with a vaccine against what they think is going to be the next strain of flu. And I think they come out of Asia from ducks or snails or something like that. There's several different sources of where these things come from. They're always changing. Every year it's a different one. And we have even really horrendous plagues like Ebola that they have down in Africa. They're actually causes you to bleed everywhere, even internally. And these it's kind of like a mystery right now where it comes from and how it gets started, because it happens so suddenly, and then it lasts such a short time because it kills everybody that it gets to, almost everybody. So, in the hands of evil people, these evil scientists, you could say, these things could be developed. So I kind of favor that is what this is talking about. But there's no way to know for sure what this is.
Are we still on chapter 10?
Or 9.
9.
Yeah. Okay, and other interpretations would be that these locusts are describing weapons of modern warfare. Would be like tanks and other guided missiles, things like that. Because it says that they have the appearance of the locusts were like horses prepared for battle. In verse 7, and on their heads as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. And they had hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions. We've never seen a locust that looks like that. It could be that John is trying to describe a vision he had of modern warfare, weapons of mass destruction and so forth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, verse 9. The sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, like the helicopters. You hear a helicopter up in the air, it sounds like the galloping horse or something like that. And you get a whole bunch of them, sound like a whole cavalry. So the sound of chariots and many horses rushing to battle. So if you have helicopters are used. So what these are, anybody's guess. But the unique thing about them is that there's no killing. It's only torment for 5 months. So that's what kind of makes me favor the biological aspect of it. Okay, so whatever it is, from all appearances, it is as if they were being led by or empowered by demons, but yet God is using them for His own purposes. Like these are all coming out of God's arsenal. God has all kind of weapons. He can pick and choose from His arsenal whatever weapon He wants to use. So even though it's demonic, it's still under God's control, so that means it's like His arsenal. Okay, so whatever it is, it lasts for 5 months, and it is so painful. In verse 10 it says, "And they have tails like scorpions and stings, and in their tails is their..."